Hi everyone and welcome back to another sewing tutorial. If you are new here, welcome, my name is Bianca and I usually film sewing and DIY fashion videos, so if you are interested in seeing more of those, make sure you subscribe to this channel. In today's video I have decided to recreate this top that I saw on Pinterest,
which costs, by the way, $128.
It is a satin top with tie straps and it has 3 elastic bands. As usual, this is a really simple DIY that any beginner at sewing can do. So if you want to make one for yourself, just keep watching.
To make this top, you will need about half a meter of non-stretchy satin fabric. You will also need some fabric scissors, a measuring tape, some pins, some elastic band, and of course your sewing machine with matching thread. Before cutting your fabric, you will need your chest circumference, and to that you will need to add 20 centimeters, so 8 inches. In my case, the first measurement was 80 centimeters and I added 20, so I cut out a rectangle that was 1 meter long and 50 centimeters wide. The width of your fabric determines the length of your top, but I would definitely recommend adding about 15 centimeters, so 6 inches, to the desired length of your top, since we are going to create tunnels for the elastic to go in, and that takes up a lot of fabric. As I've said, mine was about 15 centimeters originally, and my top ended up being about 34 centimeters long. After you have all of your measurements, you can go ahead and cut out the rectangle. And the first thing that I did was to hem one end of the fabric, so one of the longer sides of your fabric. And I did that by folding the fabric inwards twice, pinning it and then sewing it using a straight stitch. Now that we have one side hemmed, I'm going to move over to my ironing board and I'm going to fold over the other edge about 4.5 centimeters, so about 18 inches, and I'm going to use my iron to secure it in place. Then I'm folding the edge inwards once again, this time half a centimeter, so about 1/4 of an inch. I'm again using my iron and some pins to secure everything in place, and then I'm going to sew this part using a straight stitch. After you've made the first stitch on the edge of the folded fabric, you will need to sew another straight stitch, and this will create a tunnel for the elastic to go in. So make sure the tunnel you create is wide enough for the elastic to fit in. So here I'm sewing the first straight stitch, and then I'm starting over at about half a centimeter distance from the first stitch. So now that you have the tunnel, you'll need to pull the elastic through it. I am using my tube turner this time, but you can use the original version and just pull the elastic through using a safety pin. Now fold the fabric right sides together, making sure that you hold on to the elastic ends. Pin the sides of the fabric together, including the elastic ends, and sew using a straight stitch. To finish the raw end of the fabric, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch on the edge. Then I recommend you try on your top and use some safety pins to mark exactly where you want the elastic bands to fit. I'm going to place the first one right where my bra ends, and then the second two across my waist. If you have watched my DIY puffed sleeve square neck top, you already know how to create these tunnels for the elastic. But for those of you who don't, you just need to fold the fabric over. I'm using my measuring tape to make sure I folded it the same amount all the way around, and then I'm using my safety pins to pin it in place. Next, I'm moving on to my sewing machine and I'm just sewing a straight stitch all around. at about half a centimeter distance from the folded edge of the fabric. This is enough for the width of my elastic, but if you have wider elastic, you'll need to make sure it fits inside. Then I'm holding this tunnel down using my finger, so I folded it to one side, and then I'm going to go over it again, this time along the other edge, and making sure that I leave a small opening to insert the elastic. To insert the elastic, I'm using my safety pin and pulling it through the fabric until the elastic ends meet. Then I'm going to sew them together using a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to close the gap, continuing the straight stitch that we did earlier. Then I'm basically doing the exact same thing to create the other two tunnels for the other elastic bands. So I'm folding the fabric like this, then sewing it flat, leaving an opening for the elastic, and I'm repeating it once again for the third elastic band. You can place the elastic bands as close together or as far apart as you like. The ones that are on my waist I've placed closer together, but it's really up to you. Then you'll need to try on your top one more time, and this time you are going to measure across your shoulder to determine the length of your straps. Again, you can make the straps as wide or as narrow as you like. I wanted really thin straps, so I've used a tube turner to turn them inside out. But basically you'll need to cut out 4 strips of fabric that you will fold right sides together and sew them using a straight stitch. It can be really tricky to finish the ends of your straps if they are so thin, so I recommend leaving the raw edges inside your straps. And the last step is to pin and sew the straps onto your top. And this is it. I hope my instructions were as clear as possible. If you still have questions regarding the tunnels that we created for the elastic, I recommend you watch the other video as well, where I explained how to create them. So I'll leave it linked right here. As usual, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!